Good morning, stamping friends, and happy Friday to all of you. I hope you're doing well and you're all ready to kick off the Labor Day weekend. I'm excited for it, and you can probably guess what I'm going to be doing. I am going to be staying home and working on my cozy craft retreat. In fact, I've even commissioned my husband to help me with something, so he's going to be working away too, but his isn't going to take all weekend. But anyway, I'm just so excited that this retreat is, gosh, it's 2 weeks from today, actually. Oh my goodness, I need to get going here. But I wanted to share a project with you today because it is Friday and I'm committed to doing my videos twice a week on Tuesdays and Friday mornings. So the stamp set that I'm going to be using is from the Celebration catalog. Now remember, all the products in here are free. You just have to place at least a $50 order. There's a few in the back where you need to spend $100. They're worth a little bit more, but for the one for today, it's just one that you need to spend $50 and it will come to you free. It is called Feels Like Home, and isn't this a fun set? It's kind of country looking. Let me grab the actual set so you can see it a little bit closer. Really nice sentiments, and it's just so sweet. All right, so let me gather my supplies and let's get moving on this one. We are gonna play with very vanilla thick cardstock today, and I did a little bit of the work beforehand. This is a piece of very vanilla thick cardstock that is cut to 8.5 by 4.25 inches wide, and then I scored on the long side at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4, and I ran just this big square here through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I used the brick and mortar 3D embossing folder. And what we're going to do is just fold this card in half on that score line, and then we're going to fold in again on that second score line like this. Oops, let me grab my bone folder. I always have that within arm's reach, and just make really crisp folds. That is a handy tool. All right, so this is going to be an easel card, and eventually it's going to sit like that, but we're going to set this aside for a second, and we're going to grab our next piece of cardstock, which is let's do this one, very vanilla. Now this is 3 inches by 3 inches, and I'm going to grab my crumb cake ink, and then I'm just going to ink up that beautiful stamp set that has the door and the bike on it, and we're just going to stamp this right smack in the middle of this piece. So, whoops, I need to put some paper down underneath this because I don't want to get this on my background because it is going to go off of the page a little bit. Now there's a little trick to this. When you stamp, try to line up, because I stamped this so many times and it was going downhill and I could tell by the floor. It's kind of like I was getting dizzy looking at it. But what you're going to want to do is try to measure the top of the door, because that is straight, and line that up with the top of your cardstock, and that hopefully will be straight. Now because the angle I'm doing this at, I can't really tell, but we'll go for it. And as you know, like I said, part of it will be off on the side. It's a little bit downhill, but that's all right, because I made another one and it's a little straighter. But when I have to, you know, if I put my head in here, you're gonna see my head and not my stamping. So, all right, then you're gonna take your paper trimmer, whoops, this way for me. I'm left-handed, so I like to set mine up this way. And remember I said this is cut at 3 by 3. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna cut this into squares. Now when you're using a small piece of cardstock, it's best to use the markings on the right side of this track. So I'm going to put it at the 1 inch mark. Do you see that? And I like to go down to up, but it doesn't really matter. So there's one slice, and slide it over one more time at 1 inch. So we're going to have 3 strips of 1 inch. Now what we're going to do is turn it like this. Actually, I'm going to do them one at a time. One, and when I take them off, I'm going to kind of lay them down in the order that I'm doing them. You might not be able to see this to the side, but I'm placing them down in the order, because in the end it's going to be like putting a little puzzle together. So if they're in order when you set them to the side, it'll be a little bit easier to assemble this. So we're almost done here. One more slice, and then I'll show you what we have. Whoops. Oh, I guess you can see that, right? All right, so I have my little grid here. I guess I should have turned them this way. All right, now we are going to take another square piece of crumb cake cardstock, This is cut to 3 3/8 by 3 3/8. Let me double check that. Yep. All right, now we're gonna take our Stampin' Seal Plus, and as you know, this one is my favorite. I used to use Stampin' Seal, but I prefer this one. And you might wanna lay the grid out a little bit before you start adhering it down, but I did make one already, and so I know about what the spacing is, so I'll just go along and do this. And when you do this, you do wanna make sure that the pieces are in the right order. Okay, now for the next part, see how that came together? This piece of Very Vanilla cardstock is 4 inches by 4 inches, and again, I ran it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine with the brick and mortar 3D embossing folder. And what we're gonna do with this is I wanna rough up the edges a little bit because it's kind of a country look, and all you do is take your paper snips and rub back and forth on the edge. Do you see how that's gonna kind of just kind of make that a little bit shabby chic? It's got frayed edges, and a lot of cards and a lot of stampers use this technique, and it's so simple, and everybody has paper snips in their stash, so that's just how you do that. And you're going to do that on all 4 sides. I already did do a piece, so I didn't have to take too much time here. And let me grab it. Here it is. All right, now we're gonna put our little grid on here, but before we do that, I want you to take this Baker's Twine, and this comes in a pack. It's called Baker's Twine Essentials Pack. And what's nice about this pack is you are gonna get 5 different colors of Baker's Twine. You will get Crumb Cake, White, Black, Gray Granite, and Very Vanilla. And so this is really a great value. And what I'm gonna do is put a little bit of adhesive on the back side, and I'm just gonna, I want this to fall about where that one grid line is. So we're just gonna wrap this around twice, and I kind of like to make an X like that. And it'll just give a little bit more interest to the front, and that should adhere very well to that tape. It's super sticky. And then we're gonna grab some dimensionals, and we're gonna place, place one in each corner. You don't have to overdo. I know I see a lot of people putting 5,000 dimensionals on the back of their cardstock. You really only need the corners unless it's an oversized piece of cardstock. All right, we are going to center this in the middle here. And then what we're gonna do is I made a double bow because we have 2 strings going here. I thought it would look better to make a double bow, and just use that same Baker's Twine and a mini glue dot. And let's put this, this on the front, and you can be creative where you want to put it. I always like to offset a little bit, so I'm going to stick it right here. See how it just adds a little bit of, you can maneuver these if it's too far apart or you want it more, you can still move those a little bit. All right, now we just need to put this on the front of our easel card, and what we're going to do is put more dimensionals, and I like to place them on the actual easel because if you put them too high on this piece, then they're going to show on the back and they'll stick to whatever's behind it. So it's just easier to put them on here, and hopefully I put them over far enough. I think this one I'm going to slide over a little bit more. You got to remember this is going to be 1/4 inch smaller on each side, so let's just move that one in a little bit. All right, and take these off, and then we will just place this on here like this. Oops. There we go. Now, in order for the easel to stand up, we need to make a little stop for it here so it catches here. And so what I'm going to do is take, let me find my punch here. We have the double oval punch. This is perfect for this card. So I'm going to use both of these. The first one I'll just do Crumb Cake and punch this. It's a nice size. It fits many of our sentiments. And let's put a couple dimensionals on the back of this one. And this you can really place wherever you want that easel to fall and catch. I think if we go, you want to center it, and that should be good right there. All right, then we need one more layer with the sentiment, and I chose the sentiment that says, "Your friendship feels like home to me." So I'm just going to stamp that in the center of this. And I just use a small strip when I use this bottom punch. And the reason is if I used a full sheet, like say this, you can see you're gonna waste all that up there, and all you want really is the bottom one. So whenever you need just the bottom one, cut a smaller strip, and then just that strip will fit in there. And also, as you know, you can center it easier when you stamp first and punch later. I always say I need to make a sign and frame it for my customers, because most of my customers want to stamp it first and then punch it out, but it really is hard to get it centered when you do that. And then let's do one more round of dimensionals here, and I think one in the center should do it. And let's just finish this, whoops, this up. And I'm gonna hold it up so I can put it in the center this time. All right, so when the finished card is done, it looks like this. Isn't that cute? Very country, and I like tone on tone, so that's why I use such neutrals. Can you see it from that angle? Let me tilt it a little bit. And then remember, this can mail with a regular stamp. All it does is lies flat like that. And hopefully when they get it, they will understand that you just flip it up like that, and it would be cute by your computer or whatever you want to use this for. All right, well, that's today's card. If you wanted to write a sentiment in here, what I would do is put a little bit more of very vanilla up here, or another idea is you could just do the brick embossing on the bottom half, because you really don't even see that up there, and then you can easily write on that down there. So there's lots of different ways and variations you can do. If you see any products that caught your eye, I would love it if you shopped on my online store, and make sure you use the host code right up here. This is my September host code. And if you spend $50, remember you can get this stamp set free. And also, as an added bonus, you will get my 3 Creative You projects for September. All you need for that one is a $35 order or more, and that's any month that you order. And you just need to get your order in by September 10th. Now remember, there's 2 criteria for the free kits. Number 1 is that you have to use the host code, and number 2 is you have to use or the order has to be over $35. But for $15 more, you can get that stamp set free. So you might as well just bump it up and get a free stamp set. But that's our little card today. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and have a fun and safe weekend, and we will see you next week again. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.